Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Global Women's Breakfast 2021, which is an initiative of the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry to empower women in STEM and chemistry and hopefully connect and build a network with all of you guys. My name is Yrja. Some of you might have seen me before at the EU versus Virus Hackathon and Matchathon live sessions during 2020. An amazing hackathon, by the way. So I'm happy to be here today with you. I think it's 100 of us today. Amazing. And I'm also sharing the stage with 7 high-profile women leaders in STEM. So we will touch on the topic of leadership, development, and building professional networks and STEM education. And some practical info. This will be recorded, just so you know, and you will find it on YouTube. And there will be 3 polls asked during the session to the participants. And one has already been launched. I hope you checked out networking. And the other one will be starting soon. The other one we are starting right now, apparently. And we would love for you guys to use the Q&A for asking the questions. We have 3 questions we will be asking regarding each of the topics, and we will ask them in the end. So not put it in the chat, but put it in the Q&A. And I would ask you, since this is sort of a networking event as well, drop your LinkedIn profile in the chat box, because then you can all add each other and get together. So first, we have an opening with Pilar Goya, which is the Vice President of EuChemS. Pilar, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Yrja. Good morning, everybody. And let me, on behalf of EuChemS, welcome you to this Global Women's Breakfast, and thank you for participating. This is the first breakfast we have organized, so let me just briefly, for those of you who are very familiar with what EuChemS is, explain who we are. EuChemS is the European Chemical Society, which is a supranational organization based in Brussels that coordinates the work of 41 chemical societies from 30 EU countries plus Russia, Turkey, and Israel. We are organized in divisions and working parties, and we also have a very dynamic network of early career researchers, the so-called EuChemS, which is the European Young Chemistry Network. Along its 50 years of existence, EuChemS started 50 years ago as FEX. We have always strived for balance and diversity. So let me just give you some very, very recent examples. In 2018, I had the privilege of being elected the first woman president of the organization. In 2019, which, as you all recall, was the International Year of the Periodic Table, we did many events. We started organizing together with IUPAC and the Universidad de Murcia, a congress which was entitled Setting the Table, Women in the Element. And we supported the publication of a book which is entitled Selected Women's Contributions to the Periodic Table, which is an excellent compendium of all those women that have been behind the discovery of many elements, but sometimes have not come to light. This book, I'm glad to tell you, that was co-edited by Brigitte van Tiggelen, who we are very lucky to have her here today as panelist. In 2020, we signed together with other organizations the Statement on Inclusion and Diversity in the Chemical Sciences, which was promoted by the Royal Society of Chemistry. And also in 2020, we established a task group on inclusion and diversity. And well, this is one of the first activities of our task group. I have gathered a most interesting group of female panelists. We are very much looking forward to what they have to say and also to the input comments of all you participants. I think we are already over 100. And I think it's very exciting to think that we are part of this global endeavor. And we really must be very proud. We are part of a huge network. There are women meeting on the same topic, starting from New Zealand and ending up in Hawaii. So we are a real global network. And I think, as I say, it's going to be a most interesting session. So thank you very much all for participating, and I'm very looking forward to listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pilar. And the topics we will touch on today is STEM education, building professional networks. And may I say that has been very important for me building my career. And we will talk about work-life balance with the emphasis of the COVID time. But I once again ask your questions in the Q&A, not in the chat. And please ask as many as you want. Now you have the time for these high-profile women to answer them. So first up, we're talking about STEM with Gill, Reid, and Nineta Hrastelj. I hope I pronounced it correctly. And first to welcome Gill Reid, which is the professor of inorganic chemistry at the University of Southampton, UK, and president-elect of the Royal Society of Chemistry. And then we also have with us one of the organizers of this amazing event, Nineta, and she has a PhD in chemistry with a focus on analytical chemistry, metrology, and chemometrics, and has been the Secretary General of the European Chemical Society for 10 years. Gill, we'll start with you, and then I have questions for both of you in the end. Gill, Reid, welcome.
Thank you very much, Yrja, and it's a real pleasure for me to join the panel and to join all of the participants today for this global breakfast. I want to talk a little bit today about some of my impressions around STEM education for girls. When we think about STEM subjects, we know that girls perform as well as or often better than boys in science and maths at school, and yet far fewer girls go on to follow STEM-based study beyond school at university and at college, and go on to STEM careers at the end of that. So our challenge really is to try to understand why that is, what are the barriers, and to try to take some positive actions to change these perceptions. So STEM, for me, that's chemistry. Chemistry is really a journey of creativity and discovery that brings so many positive real-life impacts. It's never been more important that we're able to attract the very best talent into the STEM community, and that's irrespective of gender, of course. More often than not, when you ask a young person to sketch a scientist, they'll draw a man wearing glasses and a lab coat. And really this just serves to highlight how important it is for us to have female role models, and also, of course, to celebrate the amazing contributions that female scientists have made over the years to help to dispel these stereotypes. Making sure that learning spaces display positive images of women scientists is one easy action that every one of us can take to try to help young people to see the opportunities and the contributions that young girls can bring to the STEM disciplines. Language, the examples that we use and the context that we use in classrooms and in textbooks in school can only serve to reinforce stereotypes. So we need to think about these really carefully to ensure that they're balanced and inclusive for girls. So the Royal Society of Chemistry Inclusion and Diversity Fund has very recently funded a project which is covering this project, and this is underway at the moment, and we're looking forward to seeing and hearing about the outcomes later in the year, and we'll try to make sure that we share these widely with the community. Stereotyping is not only something that happens in the schools, of course, it can also happen in the home. So we need to encourage society as a whole to be ambitious for the girls and to make sure that they don't feel excluded, and that they're really engaged and brought along the scientific, the STEM journey, and can really be part of the family as we go forward. It's important that all pupils of all genders can feel a sense of belonging and identity in class. That builds their confidence and really will allow them to show their full potential. So just to conclude, I would say that we need to be more conscious of the barriers that discourage girls from following STEM subjects, and really take some actions to challenge stereotypes and to be more inclusive. Thank you, Yrja.
Thank you, Gill. And I can't say enough how important it is to be a role model. So all of you in the session here, just think about what can you do for be a good role models for other women in STEM. Nineta, now it's your time.
Thank you very much, Yrja, and also thanks a lot for accepting the invitation for this moderation and bringing in this lovely atmosphere to this very stressful breakfast, I guess, for all the others, for us. So thanks a lot. So I would just like to say a few words of what I would like to see in near future. Well, we may all agree at the end that this is a little bit naive, but nevertheless, I would like to share this. So what I would like to see is a society where all children who are interested in science will decide to enroll in STEM education. Not only because science looks interesting to them, or perhaps because they were told that this runs in the family and they are somehow expected to take the same direction, but because of their own passion for the subjects. I personally really believe that this passion is what makes the difference. And this is what is most important. In order to get there, we clearly have to create an environment where gender does simply don't play a role for children deciding to pursue STEM education. Also, as already mentioned by Gill, stereotypes are extremely important. And breaking stereotypes in the youth will empower the youngest generations of today to become confident leaders of tomorrow. So that's where I would like to stop now and perhaps add more as the answer to your questions that you have prepared for both of us.
Great. Thank you so much, Nineta. So my question is, what do you think are the main barriers that discourage young girls from pursuing STEM, and what actions can be helped to get them to pursue it? We can start with you, Gill. Gill.
Thanks, Yrja. I'll try and answer that question. Of course, if it was an easy question to answer, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. But I think it's really important that all pupils, irrespective of gender, can feel a sense of belonging and identity in classes in STEM across all of the disciplines. This is really important to build their confidence. And as Nineta said, this confidence, a sense of belonging are really key factors here. So this is about allowing them to achieve their full potential. I think creativity is another consideration. Chemistry is an incredibly creative science. This is in many ways just as important as knowledge itself. And the creativity aspect might actually align more closely with some of the things that attracts girls in terms of their future career directions. So these aspirations and aligning these with making sure that we communicate our subjects in a way that connects with young people, I think is really important. Finally, I think the other aspect is about redefining perceptions. We need to make sure that future STEM careers are really attractive to girls. We need to think about work-life balance. We need to think about that in general, but also wider flexibility, part-time working, career breaks to support people with young children. And of course, this isn't just about girls and women. It's good for everyone. It's good for families. It's good for everybody concerned. And the Royal Society of Chemistry's Breaking the Barriers report found that 99% of female chemists in the UK academia can evidence a lack of retention and progression in women. And also even 94% of men came to the same conclusion. So there's a lot of work to do, but talking about it and taking actions, I think is really important. And so I think these are just some of the things that we need to think about. Thanks very much, Yrja.
Thank you, Gill. What about you, Nineta?
Yeah, well, I can only say that it's what Gill said already, that's really not so simple. else we would not be here. So there are many aspects and many dimensions to this issue. And I would like to mention just a few of them. I do believe that teachers play an important role in this respect. And if we put this in a little bit bigger context, we can just simply talk about expectations of the society. So if there is a huge pressure or expectation from the society that, for instance, girls are not fit for the STEM education, then this definitely does have influence on taking their decisions. On a long term, perhaps actions within citizen science can help changing these expectations and these perceptions in the society as the whole. But this is, of course, something that will not take or change everything during the night. It's a process. And last but not least, what I would also like to mention, this, so enrolling all children in STEM education on an equal base definitely is connected to work-life balance. And if not actions are taken in this respect as well, it will not succeed. So the society as a whole should somehow reform in this direction, that both genders can be successful in their career as scientists.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more. And remember, if you have a question for Gill and Nineta, drop it in the Q&A box, and also add your LinkedIn in the chat to connect. So before we move on to the next topic, which is work-life balance, we have another poll for you to answer. I hope everyone is answering yes on this one. So over to the next topic, work-life balance. We have with us Angela Agostiano and Brigitte van Tiggelen. And first up, we have Angela Agostiano, which is a professor of physical chemistry at the University of Bari, past president of the Italian Chemical Society. And then we have with us Brigitte, who is the director of European operations at the Science History Institute and chair of the EuChemS Working Party on the History of Chemistry. Many amazing women. Angela, would you like to start?
Yes. Good morning to everybody. I'm very glad to be today with you. I just would like to say a few words addressing a specific topic, that is the impact of COVID-19 on the career of women in STEM. Of course, we know that, generally speaking, the virus results in the loss of employment, above all employment of women. But what the specific problem for women in STEM? The fact is that women in STEM are already a minority. Are a minority when they are students, but are more and more a minority when you arrive to academic science, senior position, top level position. And then usually women are, their career is at the early stage or postdoc. And so they feel they can really worsen this position during the COVID, because how can you demonstrate your excellence? That is what you need at the beginning of your career, if you do not have time to do this, because you have to take care of your children, or if you have to take care of your house. How can you reach excellence, show evidence that you are not worse than other one in your job? That is the same in academia, but it's the same in the company. That the problem is that the glass ceiling is lifting up and up. We are going back in what we reached in the last years, because I think that the problem linked with bench science, like chemistry, the time that is lost. And Nature in July had a survey in which it's very clear that the time lost in science from women is the 20% higher than the time lost by men. That means that you are less productive. That means that you will have less chance for your career. This is a problem that will not end with the end of pandemic, because this is a problem, this is a social problem, this is a systemic problem, because that will mean that less girls will attend the school and choosing science, and less women will grow their career and reach top level. So because this is a general problem, it's not a women problem. We need to have in mind what are the problems, the overwork, the conflict between the work and the life, the fact that the overlap between our personality as a woman and our position as a scientist, this overlap is split during this time, and we need to combine the two aspects of our life. What's the solution? Well, I can say that the solution cannot be by women, but have to be systemic. We have to change the sustainability of our job, because this will be, together with culture, together with policy in the institution, will be the only chance to fill the gap that is increasing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angela. Brigitte, are you with us? The stage is yours.
Yes. Well, it's quite exciting to participate to this global breakfast. So we all prepared our interventions alone, and it's quite amazing how much confluence there is. So what my colleague Angela Agostini just described about the impact of the pandemics does indeed reflect the status of the system more than the impact of the just present conjuncture. And despite Marie Curie and her 2 Nobel Prizes and many, many successful females since her, the structural inequity is still there. And to a large extent, it draws on a more general disparity in gender roles at the society's level, as Angela just argued. So it is interesting in that regard to note that the problem of work-life balance first came up as an important issue when female workforce occupied more positions. And I think this is also an interesting point. Statistics on the gender gap in STEM keep underlying the weak presence of women, especially at higher level. And to bridge this gap, several measures have been tried, raising awareness for STEM careers among girls, as we just heard, or imposing quotas in public institutions or selected committees, especially those who award funding or positions. All these needed measures have not delivered the expected results. And to come back to what Angela said, maybe we are one step back. Because one of the main lingering problems seems to be the loss of many capable female scientists as careers unfold. And the core problem is that the structure of scientific acknowledgement has an inbuilt model for the kind of individuals to be selected. So history shows us that the system, it shows us that and how the system has been constructed by and for men, and actually not even all men, mainly white Western men, we have to acknowledge that. And it's based on several tacit assumptions that often fail to be questioned, if not simply overlooked. One of these assumptions is that the private and the public sphere are clearly separated and almost watertight. The other is the oversight of economy of care, which is the emotional side of any human activity and the necessary investment in care and infrastructures. And this is an investment that does not come across as an achievement in an individual career. So I guess you can find instances in the history of and the biography of well-known scientists of the impact of the private life, and especially how the support of their wives, their families was crucial. It seems to me that the second aspect is well less apprehended and really needs to be more fleshed out. Basically, care has always been considered menial task left in the hands of unpaid or low-paid workforce. Keeping a household, raising children are obvious such tasks, but these tasks also exist on the workplace. And often women are swallowed in those tasks, which in a curriculum, in a resume, do not make their career advance. So one small example to finish with that, a survey from the European Physical Society shows that in an international conference, women are proportionally more present in the organization committee than on the program and international advisory committees. So this is really just one small example, but I think it is very symbolic. To sum up about the work-life balance, it is a much broader topic than just maternity leave or childcare or household. It raises the question of what value the scientific community gives to the often hidden economy of care that nevertheless supports the whole scientific community and endeavor.
Thank you so much, Brigitte and Angela. I, of course, have questions for you as well. So my first question is, has COVID-19 shed light into already existing gender inequality in STEM? And I think, Angela, would you like to go first?
Oh, yes. Of course, the COVID-19 shed the light because enlarged all the problem. You know, the perception of the problem were enlarged a lot, because when you deal with STEM work, what that means, that you have to go almost every day in your laboratory, share with your student, with your colleague experience, and then at the end you cannot do it. No, you have to stay at home, take care of your son or take care of your old man and the family, and in the same time, no, it's difficult to have a progress in your science because you do not have time to do this. So what is already existing in science, that women are most of all at the beginning of their career, because when you reach the top, you find only men. That will be greater and greater, enlarging and enlarging. Then at the end, lot of years after pandemic, we will find the separation between career, low profile career, and high profile career between women and men. And that will be a lot due to the COVID problem.
Thank you. What about you, Brigitte?
I cannot agree more. I think, though it's a very general problem, one of the statistics I lately saw is that in the US, 150,000 jobs were lost, and they were all held by women. So, and I'm sure that if you go into race, you know, it's going to be the same. So the problem when there's such a conjuncture that struggles, that takes the system at the neck, it means that the most vulnerable groups are going to be impacted much more than those who are well established. And what we are seeing with what Angela is describing is exactly that for women in science. And there is, of course, the household and the family, but I would also want to underline how much women are invested in general in you know, taking care of students and so on, to usually proportionally more than men, and they usually sit on a lot of committees that are well-being committees or committees for the well-being of the community. And of course, with all these Zoom meetings, I think they have more than their share.
One more question for you guys. Is the pandemic going to have a long-term negative implication in women's careers, you think? Angela?
Absolutely. I think that the problem will not end with the pandemic, because it's a general problem and will create separation and inequality in a way that it will need a lot of years to fill this gap. Because when the results are that women decide to leave their career, choose another career that is more flexible, or are a little bit worried about the time that they do not have, and then they choose another education that is more linked also to their family problem. So we will see in time that a lower number of women will be involved in science. And I'm afraid that this will be a real social problem, because the workforce of women in science will be reduced a lot in years.
Thank you, Angela. Brigitte?
Yes, first I want to stress the fact that why is it important that we have women in science? Actually, it's important for science. It's not just important for women. So if indeed what Angela described is happening, this is a loss for science. That's one point. The second short point I want to make is that, yes, indeed, this will have lasting consequences as long as the way careers are assessed remain the same, which is not including all the aspects of life into establishing rankings and so on. For instance, there are some fellowships now for women coming back from maternity leave, which I think really interesting, not just because it gives the opportunity of for those women to recharge, you know, and get back into the run, but mainly also because it values getting a little bit outside of the race and thinking about what one is doing. And the long-term result of these investments show that these women come back with more creativity, to come back to the point of Gill, with more creativity, because they had time to think a little bit out of the box for a while. And again, this is about assessment and what science can benefit from those things.
Thank you. And if you have a questions, which I hope you have, you can drop it in the Q&A box for Brigitte and Angela to answer in the very end. And one more time, add your LinkedIn profile in the chat. I see now there popped up a poll for all of you guys, so just click on the answer that you prefer. And then we will move on to the other topic, or our next topic, which is building networks. I also just checked out Clubhouse. So for those of you who haven't checked Clubhouse out yet, that is also a very good way for you guys to connect even more deeply, because that's an audio app. So either your Clubhouse handle or your LinkedIn profile in the chat. So our next topic, professional networking building. We have with us Slavica Hrastelj, which is a professor of analytical chemistry at University of Belgrade, chair of division and analytical chemistry of the EuChemS, and then Carina Crucho. She is a postdoc researcher at University of Lisbon and treasurer of the European Young Chemist Network. I am very curious to hear your teachings. Welcome to the stage. And Slavica, you can start.
Yes, sure. Good morning to everybody. And just to mention, I'm Slavica Ražić, because it's really a bit difficult to pronounce my name and surname. But no matter of that, we just actually, by changing the topic, we are actually the same stream, just offering the women maybe some other possibilities to make a difference in this society. And I'm really excited to share this event with all of you here on the screen and all those behind the screen, because we have to share only the good vibes. They're totally in line with a very healthy diet, with these good vibes. Okay, just one curiosity, as Pilar mentioned at the beginning of this event, that she was now is vice president of association. She was the first woman elected to be the president of European Chemical Society. We have another curiosity here, because my division of analytical chemistry will celebrate the next year 50 years of existence. It's half a century, girls, half a century. And another curiosity is that in 2017, I was the first woman to be elected as a chair for this division. So that's something that will open the door for others to just make more difference in that. Well, we are talking about building professional network. I must disappoint you. There is no tutorial with the tips and tricks for that. So all I would like to share with you is actually experience-based. Well, for any person that engage in action leading even a small group, it's important to give a personal example, and in that way to set the required standards. When I see someone's name as a leader, chair, president on available platforms, I'm always curious to learn more about accomplishments, research, education, area, and expertise. If I know that person, I add a special value to the personal characteristics as well. The same viewpoint is actually self-applied. That's the way, and that's a driving force for me to be better and make the difference in whatever I do. Well, my credo, which is in line with my personal belief and also guides my actions and decisions in my life, is fairness and transparency. It's indeed the truth. That's why I feel comfortable enough acting as the chair of Professional Network, Division of Analytical Chemistry of European Chemical Society, despite many problems and very, very delicate situations. At the first moment when I was elected for the chair division of Analytical Chemistry, especially that I was first woman to take that role, my feelings were actually the mixture of pride, worries, and questions like, can I do that? Am I good enough? The next moment, one of my colleagues, a man actually, with congratulation as it, try to enjoy in this work. That's the point, to find the pleasure in what you are working. It's important to create choices, connections, and build the competence. So even you are feel overwhelmed by situation, external distraction, or pressure, it helps to control and have chances to make the right decisions. Questions are now different. Are my short-term actions and decisions aligned with long-term goals? I must confess something. I make mistakes, and I don't just afraid to admit them. But I learned how important it is to listen to others, my colleagues in the division of analytical chemistry. I know that behind all the actions are always people, individuals, with their ambitions, emotions, and often different views, perspectives, and visions. There are many situations when I found it impossible to make everyone happy. I'm always trying to look a few steps forward and keep my optimism at highest level as possible. I think that all of you will agree with me. It's very important just to keep you up. Well, for closing this short statement, I just like to say that I read somewhere, if you want to make everyone happy, don't be a leader, sell the ice cream. Thank you.
Good one, Slavica. Thank you. And I think, as you say, it's like just accept that we all do mistakes and we're all flawed. We all are flawed in some way. But it's, I think, one of the qualities when you come to building a network is, as you mentioned, to listen and just pull your hand out and listen and be curious. So, Carina, what's your thought?
Thank you, Yrja, and thank you all for joining us for breakfast. I'm going to talk about the importance of networking. The first time I joined a network was when I joined the European Young Chemists Network. The YCN is a very special network because we have gender equality without any measure of positive discrimination. So the EYCN is the future we want and the future we want to build. As an introvert, and believe me that I am, being part of a network was a very important step. But I started first with the aim of how can I contribute to their purpose instead of how will I benefit for being part of a network? Because when you stand up with your expertise and offering help, it creates room for partnership. Well, no man is an island. You can never tell how much you know without listening to other people. Everybody, as one way or another, pass through some hurdles during their career development. And of course, there is no one size fits all when it comes to networking. The key is trying out a number of different work strategies and discover what best suits you. For example, if you are an introvert, like I am, you may prefer to network one-to-one or use social media to your advantage. But when people start noticing you, it opens the door for newer opportunities. Well, at the YCN, I met incredible women, for example, Alicia, Giovanna. I think they can rule a country. But I also met incredible men. This showed me on the importance of allies, networking and the role men and women can play in helping to support their colleagues and really pushing for equality. Well, the imposter syndrome also prevented me from participating in a network. But then I learned the importance of mentoring. Mentoring taught me to understand that we all have good things to share. There are other people in different career stages that we can definitely help. So regardless you are a teacher, a colleague, a partner, in all these roles, be a woman with a voice. Thank you so much.
Be a woman with a voice. I love it, Carina. Thank you so much. I have a question for you. And I heard you touched it with the importance of having men as allies. Could you explain that further and how we better can get them to be one?
Thank you for your question. I can actually tell a story about when I realized how important it was to have men as allies. 2 years ago, I was participating in a conference, and all the speakers and invited speakers were men. Professor David Cole Hamilton, at the end of the lecture, he pointed out that all the speakers were men, and that there were many women doing very good research. At that moment, it was my ally, mine and all the other women, because this is not only women's issues, it's everyone's. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you, Carina. And I have also a question to you, Slavica, before we go over to the question from the audience. So make sure to drop your question in the Q&A and we might choose yours. We're doing that after now Slavica has answered her questions. And once more, to connect, building your professional network, drop your LinkedIn in the chat and get to know each other. So Slavica, in your professional network, you have representatives from about 30 European countries, which is amazing, and 35 chemical societies. Did you have some situation where you felt you got stuck, like in a one-way street with no way out and visible solutions?
Well, yes, it is actually one of the largest division in European Chemical Society, really a lot of countries and so many societies and such a diversity. Yes, there were many situations when I found myself in very difficult situation. And I was just thinking, there is always a solution in a wide range from the bad one to the excellent. So it's just always very good to put yourself in other person's shoes and look this case out of the box and get another perspective. And this helps sometimes. But the most important for me, I just realized, is to have a solid arguments for any decision you made. With these solid arguments, there is a possibility you will maybe survive. So that's actually my my attitude towards some difficult cases, shortly. But it's always case by case. It must be resolved in a typical way, but all I told is really helping. Thank you, Yrja.
Thanks. And my best advice, if I add it, I think when you guys have added each other on LinkedIn, start engaging in the content you share, and also just direct message each other, and just don't be afraid to get to reach out a hand. It's if you get a no, okay, but I think many good meetings meetings have come from me just asking for a virtual coffee or asking someone for a physical coffee when COVID wasn't there, just to get to know like-minded people. So I highly recommend just to reach out and don't be scared and listen and be curious. So please do that. And I believe there will come more women into STEM when there is a strong network and women using their voice on social media. Okay, so I received the questions from you guys. And the first one goes to the STEM topic. And what made you pursue a career in STEM? Gill and Nineta, you guys can handle this question. Gill, you can start.
Yeah, I'd love to answer that question. For me, I mean, chemistry is just amazing. I remember as a youngster at school, not being very engaged in school. It didn't feel the right place to me. I felt like I felt that I was out on my own. And then I went into science, and I started going to science classes and chemistry classes. And in chemistry, my teacher, and I hear so many people talking about how important their teachers are in inspiring them. And it was really a light bulb moment for me, just being able to talk about something as an equal with somebody that was a teacher, and being able to see that there are so many things around us that science explains. So it becomes a way of life in many ways. And so that was a really key part for me. I just wanted to be part of a subject that just has so much good to bring to the world. And of course, meeting, the other part of this, it's not just the subject, it's the people that you meet in the subject, the people you work with. And so that collaboration, teamwork, and collective creativity are really important for me. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Gill. Sense of belonging has been really important to me as well. So I totally understand you. Nineta, how about you?
Yeah, well, that's similar. Actually, my preferred uncle was studying chemistry when I was a kid. And since then, I was very much looking forward to get in the 7th class of the primary school chemistry as the subject, because I was so curious what this is really about. And actually, we had biology in the same classroom, in the classroom where the periodic table was on the wall, 1 year before we got chemistry. And in a hidden way, I was trying to write on the paper the periodic table during biology classes, because biology never really interested me, I have to admit this. And the teacher noticed this, and then one day he came to me at the beginning of the class and he brought me an A4 periodic table, and he said, well, you don't need just to copy everything, I mean, in a secret way. Here you have the periodic table. I mean, I was taken by chemistry completely since then, and there was never, ever any other option what to study than chemistry. I just absolutely find it fascinating, as simple as that.
And you haven't regretted since?
Absolutely not.
Amazing.
I still can't see myself studying anything else.
Oh, I would like to dig into all of your brains, but okay, move on to the next.
I keep telling people that chemistry is absolutely fascinating, and those who are not chemists are just looking at me, and I could see in their eyes they don't completely get it, but it is. I mean, it's as simple as that.
I think you're right. So, okay, I unmuted myself now. So the next one is for work-life balance, and which is based on the fact that women face additional challenges. How did you overcome these? You managed to become well-established women in science, maybe even in times where this was harder than now. So what made it possible for you? So then we have Angela and Brigitte to answer that.
Well, I think that there are several things that can be done, but the first one is change the cultural aspect, the relationship between a man and a woman that share their life a culture that has to change the way that the society look at the career of women. Then we need different things. We need a change in policy because the institution have to change the sustainability of the job. They have to change it's necessary to have more flexibility because we face so a different change in our life, but this flexibility has to do not go against only one part of the field, but has to be equal. If the problem is a gender problem, the solution cannot be neutral. Then you have to find the problem and to fight the problem. And the solution have to be gender solution if necessary.
Thank you, Angela. What about you, Brigitte?
So yeah, that's a very general question, and we only have personal experiences to share, of course. So I completely agree with what Angela just said. The problem has to be addressed as a general problem, not just a woman's problem, of course. Also, now about positive things. So how to overcome the challenges. There are external and internal challenges. So when you belong to a discriminated group, what always happens is first you think you are the problem and you're isolated because you don't perform like your man colleague and so on. So the first thing is to acknowledge that and look at what your horizon of possibility is. And in this horizon of possibility, find the resources you can draw on, because there's always resources you can draw on. So more practically, what that means is that as women, the first mistake I made was to try to perform the same as men. I think we can perform differently and still contribute to the field. And that is, to me, one important step, because then you don't race against time or whatever. You're just doing your best self and having a position to say, well, I have something to contribute to the whole. And the second point is to find mentors and support system. Like Carina said, this is really important that you are not alone. So discrimination is internal and you think you're alone. To fight discrimination, you have to externalize the problem and not fight alone.
Thank you. Okay, so over to our last question about professional network building. Do you think that networking opportunities for chemists are the same among different countries in Europe? And we have Slavica and Carina to answer that. You can start, Slavica.
Yes, thank you, Yrja. That's really a good question, having in mind how small Europe is in regard to other continents and how many diversity, especially cultural diversity, exists. Well, I must say to you, despite all these differences in cultural diversity, we in our professional network, in our division, actually have a common language. It's actually, yes, analytical chemists, all you are thinking about that, it's something in the background, it's serious issues, something like a constant. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking more about variables, not the constant. Those variables, when we go to the different places in Europe, organize meetings and conferences. And well, conference dinners are always beautifully staged, but there are more, what's very valuable for all of us, there are more meetings in between official those. And it's really in these short slots for lunch and dinners, in the local pubs of restaurant, testing the local food and local drinks, and just learning more about the tradition of a host country. I must say to you, in a totally relaxed atmosphere, every one of us feels like a citizen of the world. That's something what I miss the most. And I must say that for this closing. That's what we miss. This is fantastic, these virtual vibes, but in real, that is something that you cannot replace with any technological event.
Thank you. Carina?
Well, at the European level, we have the European Young Chemist Network, but actually each country has their own chemist network. And it's actually how I first started. First, I joined the network in my own country, and then I met the EYCN. So we can just search for networks and so on.
Good. Do that after this event for sure. And remember, connect with each other on social media. And the event has come to an end, but before we end, we will have some closing words from Pilar and also some of our organizers, Laura, Josette, and Jelena Lazic. Welcome, Pilar.
Thank you very much, Yrja. Well, I think the meeting is coming to an end. I am sure we could keep on discussing forever. Let me thank you, Yrja, our moderator. Thank all the panelists, Gill, Nineta, Angela, Brigitte, Slavica, and Carina. Let me also thank the participants and the attendees because they have, well, written in a lot of comments and questions. And I think I have to give special thanks to Nineta Hrastelj because she has chaired the Secretariat team, which has made, this event possible. And I would like to mention Laura Jusse, the event coordinator, and Jelena Lazic. I think we can all agree that this has been the most interesting session. We have received valuable input from all our speakers, but also from you, from the public and the attendants. And this will be of great help for our EuChemS task group on inclusion and diversity. Along these lines, we will deal with the possibility, according to your answers, of establishing the European Chemistry Women Group, and also of this idea of having an annual European Women's Chat Lab. And of course, many other suggestions and questions that we have had no time to deal with. Along these lines, and at this point, as the chair of the EuChemS task group on inclusion and diversity, it is my pleasure to announce that we have already created a LinkedIn group, which is called European Chemistry Network on Inclusion and Diversity, which was a suggestion of Yrja. And this group aims to promote inclusivity, equity, and diversity in the chemical sciences by connecting chemists across Europe through a European network. It focuses on science, opportunities, discussions, news, events, and jobs within the chemistry sector. Everyone is welcome to join already and post this group. Laura has just sent you all the link in the chat. So if you are already on LinkedIn, you can click and start by joining the group. And finally, I am glad to close announcing that I think definitely we will be participating in the next edition of the IUPAC Global Women's Breakfast, which will hopefully take place in 2022. And of course, you are all very welcome to participate again next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pilar. Laura and Jelena, would you like to say some words?
Yeah, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you for the comments in the chat. It was really great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure to listen to all the speakers, although we were sort of prepared, but it was a surprise how many wonderful, diverse opinions and really in the chat. So thanks for this wonderful breakfast.
And one more time, thank you so much for watching and coming and joining this event. I hope you all will sign up for the LinkedIn group, and thank you to the panelists and organizers. I can just feel the energy and I'm so happy to be a part of it. So I might sign up as well, even though I'm not in STEM, but I'm working as a podcaster showcasing female role models. So maybe I will interview you for my podcast. So I'll go lurking around. Thank you so much for joining. And you can also see the live stream on YouTube. And I'm sure there will be posted a link in the the LinkedIn group. And see you next year. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.